So I'm in Oscar Platoon def grandma. I need to fork this over to my personal GitHub. So click fork, Tom Preet. It's going to be forking def grandma. Should only take a few seconds. Ooh. All right, now Tom Preet def grandma forked over from Oscar Platoon def grandma. Now I'm going to git clone it. So I'm going to clone it by copying that down or copying that link. So I'm currently within 99 bottles, but I don't want to clone it down within the 99 bottles. I want to clone it inside the Oscar challenges directory. So how do I move up one directory in the terminal?
CD space dot dot.
CD space dot dot. So notice I'm in 99 bottles master that branch. That means this 99 bottles currently has, there's a Git repository in there. And now I'm in Oscar's challenges. Let's list everything out. There's my 99 bottles, but now I want to clone def grandma down. Git clone. There's that link to it. Tom Preet, def grandma, just making sure that I'm not cloning the Oscar Platoon one down, because if I do try to push up code, I'll get an error saying I can't do that. So cloning down. Great. Cloning into def grandma. Now down here, you can, or up here in the upper right-hand corner, you can see def grandma is right there. So this is in JavaScript. All right, I'm going to go do that. I'm going to click that and just open up that README. Or I don't even want to do that. I'm going to read the README in here. So I mentioned before that, you know, especially early on in your career, coding is 80% reading, 20% actual coding. So always just make sure you read through the entire README, and so you actually kind of make sure you understand like the problem, and maybe there's other resources out there. All right, so the premise is write a program which can imitate a grandma who is hard of hearing and follows these constraints. If you put anything and just hit enter, she responds with what? If you ask a question with any lowercase letters, she responds with speak up, kid. If you talk to her in all uppercase letters, she responds with no, not since 1946. The first time you say goodbye, she says leaving so soon, question mark. The second time you say goodbye, she says later, skater, and the program finally exits. So here's an example. Say you run it, she says, hey kid, you type in hi grandma. She responds with speak up, kid. You say, hi, I said, hi, grandma, in all uppercase. She says, not since 1946. You don't type in anything here. She says, what? You say goodbye, but in all lowercase. She says, speak up, kid. Now you say goodbye in all uppercase. She says, leaving so soon. Goodbye again. She says, later, skater, and the program exits. So this is only going to be in JavaScript. So just a heads up, this is extraordinarily difficult to do in JavaScript. In your code, you'll definitely need to use if, else if, and else statements. So you'll need prompt, and prompt. So I'll just open up those prompts just to see what that is. Okay. So it looks like this window prompt method. So I'm going to just try this for myself. It looks like person. There's a method called prompt that takes in a string. And let's just run that so I can try that. Looks like I get a prompt that opens up in the window. Cool. I can even try it myself by doing, come on. There we go. My machine's running really slow. All right, there we go. So in the console, so I'm here in the console, I can say let name equals what's and I can get the prompt to open up in the browser window. Cool, so I can say that. And now I can say name, and that's kind of what I typed in the prompt. Anywho. So we have got this prompt method. So maybe we can use that. We also have this link to this Flatiron prompt. We'll mess around with that. And I Googled JavaScript, how to use prompt, how to prompt user from the command line. Okay. So you can read through some of these links. So if I wanted to use prompt in here, so if I say like let name equals prompt, what's your name, question mark, and if I run that, let's just kind of see what happens. Like, because everything I'm using is inside the browser, but here I'm not inside of a browser. So I'm down here in the terminal. I need to cd into def grandma, list everything out. So I'm going to just run this and see what this prompt method does. Node def grandma says, uh-oh, prompt is not defined. So it doesn't know what this prompt method is inside of this little program, this little function, but it knows what it is inside the browser. Why is that? Like, why is it working in here, but not down here?
Well, because you're not in the window, in the browser window, so Node.js can't do that unless you do like an npm install and then prompt.
Yep. So remember, JavaScript is the language of the web. So it wasn't originally written to be able to write programs on your local machine. It specifically was back in the day, in like 95 and Netscape Navigator days. It was specifically for the web browser. So I'm able to do all of that, make it prompt a window show up in the web browser, which is easy. But as you said, Node.js doesn't know what this prompt is. So here we have this prompt. Looks like it's a library, a beautiful command line prompt for Node.js. Perfect. Prompts the user for input. Awesome. Supports validation. Cool. I've never used this before. I'm a new developer. This is the first time I'm seeing this. I'm like, I don't know what any of this means. So I'm just going to copy this code. So this is like some basic prompt, and just comment this out in here and just kind of run this code in here and just see what happens. Never done this before. So let's see. So let's just like kind of dissect of what's going on in here. It looks like I'm var prompt equals require prompt. I don't know what that means. So starts the prompt. Looks like prompt is a method, I'm guessing. Dot start is another function, probably off of this prompt library, this prompt method that starts the prompt. And let's see, prompt.get. So gets two properties from the user, a username and email. So prompt.get looks like it's a function that takes in an array as a parameter right here of a username and email. So it looks like I can pass in an array of what I want the user to be prompted with, as well as a function. So it takes in this get method, takes in what I want to extract from the user, as well as it takes in a function as a parameter. And it looks like it executes this function. So, and this function takes in an error as well as a result. And if I console log command line input received, I can extract the username and email by running result.username and email. So result right here in this function. Okay. Let's see what happens when I run this. So I'm going to clear the terminal and run node def grandma again, JS. All right. All right, so I got an error. It says, I don't know what this means, loader J, cool. Error, cannot find module prompt. All right, so module not found. Okay, don't necessarily know what to do. So I'm gonna Google this because Google's my friend and cannot find module prompt. So it looks like I have a Stack Overflow. Maybe there's something in here. So it looks like it says using npm install installs the module into the current directory only. So I don't know what that npm install does. Okay. What is that? Yeah, this prompt library. I'm just gonna Google. I'm just gonna see what happens. I'm gonna say prompt library JavaScript. See what comes up. Okay. So it looks like I've got prompt npm. So I'm just going to click on that, kind of read through it. So npm, this npmjs.com, this is a website that has all the JavaScript libraries in there. So it looks like this is the library that I'm currently using right here, because the prompt requires start email. So this is the exact same one as this one. This is the actual GitHub repo of the code base. And this is just other information about that prompt library. All right. So it looks like all this stuff, I don't even know what this means. It's really not that important right now. Cool. I can install prompt by doing npm I prompt or npm install prompt library. I think I saw that npm install in that Stack Overflow solution. So can't find that module prompt. So I'm going to install that in my local machine. So I'm going to do npm install prompt, or I can just do npm I prompt, which stands for install. So if I click that, npm install prompt, let's just kind of see what happens. Okay, it just loaded something, said added 31 packages from 16 contributors and audit whatever. So 0 vulnerabilities found, great. But notice up here, it installed these node modules and this package lock JSON file. So this node modules directory is essentially, it holds all of those packages. So added 31 packages that are associated with the prompt library. So I'm sure there's like about 31 different packages that were installed in here. I'm going to pause for questions. What questions do you have about that process of what I just did?
Do we really want a library in a directory where we've got an individual program rather than someplace where we're going to use it for everything?
So you'll want to have, so your question was, do we really want the library installed in like this level of the program?
Right.
So in this case, yeah, you don't want node modules or the library installed at a higher level. Because you'll be installing a bunch of different libraries throughout on all the projects you're going to be creating. So it's best practice to keep the node modules installed at the level of like the root directory of your program. So if our root directory is where def grandma resides, it should be kind of on that same level.
Okay, so it becomes part of the package when we commit it.
Yep. Yeah. However, we will, when we push this node modules up to GitHub, we're going to not include this folder when we actually push it up to GitHub, because there's it's a very large file or very large directory, and it just eats up a lot of space on your GitHub. But we'll talk about how to circumvent like that issue.
I had a more general question, Tom. So
Yep.
for questions like this, do we need to put stuff in like verifying the input is like only uses letters and it's like, or like doesn't use random symbols and stuff? Or for a question like this, would you just assume that it's always going to be regular words?
That's a good question to ask. It all depends on the problem. So if you're running through a technical interview and this comes up, that's a good question to ask. Be like, hey, can I assume that there's no numbers being input or no special characters? And the person will be like, yeah, let's just assume that they're all alpha characters. So it all just depends. But you always generally want to test for edge cases. But for this purpose, we're just going to assume that, we'll just assume that it's just normal. The inputs are correct. So I installed it. Now let's actually run this. Maybe something changed. So if I do no def grandma again, cool. So I get prompt username. If I say like Tom, prompt email, tom@email.com. And it says command line input received, username Tom, email tom@email.com. Let's just kind of change it up. Let's say like, maybe I don't want the email, and maybe I just want first name. First name. Result first name. I just want to see if that works. I just kind of change the code. So first name Tom. Cool. So I think I kind of know how it works now. So I need this prompt up there. All right. So this is a decent starter code. I'm gonna, so start prompt. So what if I move this get method inside of this def grandma function like so. And I'm going to move that all the way to the top. All right. I'm going to move this start also above the def grandma function.
How are you moving that?
Yep. Good question. So I'm doing command and then I'm doing shift over to highlight the whole thing. And then I'm holding the command. Oh, whoops. Sorry. It's just muscle memory. Great. Once you ask me. Yep. So command shift to highlight the whole thing. And then I'm holding the alt option key, just the alt key or the option key, and pressing up and down.
That's useful.
Yeah, 100%. Also, if you have some code that you want to duplicate, you can do alt shift and then down, and it makes duplicates of whatever code you want. So that's also useful. So right here, I've got that prompt start, which starts the prompt. Oh, let's take a step back. First, I'm requiring the prompt module, and I'm assigning it to a variable prompt so I can have access to all the methods in the prompt library. On line 6, I'm starting the prompt. On line 8, I'm creating the function def grandma, which inside of that has prompt.get, which executes that function, which gets the first name. Let's actually call this input. I'm just going to call this input. Result.input. And then I'm actually executing def grandma, the function def grandma on line 18. So I'm going to clear that. I'm going to run this just to see if it still kind of works. Cool. I've got an input. Hello. Cool. So now I'm able to extract the input from a user. So now let's actually start talking about what what kind of logic we want to grab from the user. So I'm going to const input equals result. So I'm just going to, instead of using result.input, I just want it to be input. So I'm reassigning input, taking the result.input and just assigning it to a variable called input. And let's go ahead and look at def grammar again. So if you don't put anything and just hit enter, we respond with what? So let's go ahead and try to do that. So if input equals an empty string, I want it to say console log what? Is that right? So let's just try and do that. So if I run that code in the terminal, I'm going to run def grammar, and I'm not going to put any input. I'm not going to type anything in. I'm just going to click enter, and hopefully it just says, they say what. Cool. It says what. But the program exited. I want the program to keep running until I get some desired output. So how can I keep the program running?
A loop.
I can do a loop, but how many? I can do like a while loop maybe, while.
You can call the def grammar function again below your const.log what?
Like that right there?
Yes,
Cool.
line 13.
Yeah, let's try that. So I'm just gonna click enter once, and look, and now it keeps. But now if I type something, it'll end because it's no longer calling it. So cool. So we got that first one, if statement. If you ask a question with any lowercase letters, she'll respond with speak up, kid. All right. How do I check if it contains any lowercase letters? Maybe that might be the last case. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah,
just,
I would check for case last because otherwise it will override any other input.
yeah, that makes sense.
Well, not entirely, because the case in goodbye is really important. So maybe checking the case here, and I think I would look and I would see if the string that they type is the same as the string in all uppercase.
Okay, so we're doing, so both of these we need to test those. Okay, so
I don't think you want to test goodbye yet, because
not yet.
the lowercase goodbye is not a goodbye.
Right. So, but we can test these before we get to testing the lowercase. Let's just test this one first. Let's just do, if you talk to her in all uppercase, she responds with 19. So let's just test that one. I'm going to actually copy these. Yeah, here's a good idea. I'm going to put those down there. Just comment those out just so I can see. I don't have to go back and forth.
To comment out a block, was it tab?
To comment out?
Yeah.
You just highlight everything and do
Command and slash.
Yeah, command //
Okay.
So that's that case right there. I'm going to add a space there. Just else if I'm going to do this one right next. So if all uppercase, so I can say input equals input dot. Is there a method to test uppercase letters or lowercase letters?
You
Up.
can use
Two uppercase.
All right, 2 uppercase. So if this input equals the input 2 uppercase, so this converts this input to uppercase. If those equal one another, that means the input is all uppercase. So I can say console log, no, I'm just going to copy this. And I'm just going to run def grammar again, just to see if that works.
You might want to use the strict equality sign.
Oh, thank you. What does that mean? What's the difference between that and that 2 equal sign versus 3 equal sign?
One checks for the same value in the same data structure.
So input equals double equals text test for value. Triple equal signs test for value and the type. So the type of data structure, as Tim said. All right. I'm going to put that down there just for that. So let's just test that right now. Clear. So I've got what, and then I'm going to say hello, all uppercase, not since 1946. Cool. Right here, the first time you say goodbye.
I think we want to be inside a while that is while goodbye flag is less than 2.
Yeah, we can definitely do that as well. Because otherwise, so while flag is less than 2, it just keeps calling the def gramma instead of having to do def gramma inside of each if statement. Is that correct? Is that what you're referring to?
Yep, sounds good.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. I'm gonna just do the if statements and then we can convert it to a while loop. So I can say else, and then we'll worry about the order just because I think we're gonna have to switch these. Input equals goodbye. So the first time you say goodbye, so maybe we should have a variable that says like goodbye count. Equals 1 or equals 0 initially. So the first time I say goodbye, it'll be console log leaving so soon. And then def gramma right here, but we're kind of refactor it. To use a while loop. Else if input equals goodbye. Oh, so we say goodbye once. So now what we have to do, we have to increment the goodbye count by 1.
And you said if it's the first time we said goodbye, but you didn't test for that.
Right. So what I was going to do is if goodbye equals that and what was it? Goodbye count equals 1. I can say later skater, and then I can move that up above that one. So you can say, hey, if input equals goodbye and the goodbye count equals 1, which it initially is not, then it will come into here, or then it'll skip that one and come here. It'll increment that by 1. The next time I say goodbye, I'll come down here. It says goodbye, so that's a true statement, and the goodbye count already equals 1. that means that's the second time they said goodbye, and then they'll console log later skater. And then, so that one's this one. Whoop. And then else. We can do that. Ask a question, all lowercase. Yeah, I wonder if I should just use, no, I guess I won't. So console log, speak up, kid, and then grandma again. Got all these spaces. Oh. So I'm going to try to make things consistent, adding my closing brackets or my closing semicolons. All right. So if I, whoop. What did I just do? All right, let's try to run this. I think it's cd def grandma node def grandma.js. So didn't put anything. Let's test all uppercase. So all uppercase. All right. Let's just say goodbye. All right, so not since 1946. Uh-oh. What happened? So it looks like I said goodbye right here. So it looks like maybe I should change these. All right, change the order right there. If I clear that, I killed it. Let's run that again. What? Goodbye. Leaving so soon. I'm going to do some lowercase letters. Speak up, kid. I'm going to click enter. Just what? What else do we need? Not
So how do we make the goodbye? How do we count the goodbye? There is no like function to count the goodbye over there.
We don't need a function specifically. We have a goodbye count variable, global variable right up here. And down here is where I'm incrementing the goodbye variable by 1.
Actually, you need to increment it in both cases.
In which case? This, yeah.
When this one, when this one's false, then you say you need to increment it, so we'll drop out of the loop.
We're not
Hasn't made the loop yet.
The def
But
grandma.
Yeah. So yeah, right now I haven't like created a loop or anything, so I didn't need the goodbye count in both cases. Because once it hits goodbye count equals 1, so this is the second time I hit the goodbye count, it'll automatically exit out of the program. So if
You don't have a return there either.
right, I should have a return just right here. I can have a return there or have a return console log there. So if I clear that, I say goodbye. Oh, good. It's got to be a specific goodbye. And then if I just all lowercase, goodbye again, later skater exits. Cool. So if I wanted to refactor this using a while loop, I can say while goodbye count is less than 2. Is that right?
Yes.
And then pretty much add these entire if statements. And get rid of all these def grammas, except outside of that last else statement, have that ran like so. And that should work the same.
You don't need the last def grandma call if you're inside the while loop.
Let's see. Yeah, I think you still, oh wait, hold on. It'd be up there then, right? Yeah, the while loop would be above the get prompt. Let's see. Where am I at? Why am I getting an error there? Closing bracket. I'm missing a closing bracket. Format document. Goodbye. Let's see. Yeah, I think that looks right.
The parenthesis looks out of place, doesn't it, down at the bottom?
Which one?
Right there, right there.
So we got the while loop up here, and it'll continue to loop.
Oh, the curly brace is fine. There's a parenthesis in there.
That is right there. That is for the get prompt function. So that's the closing of the get prompt. So def grandma, let's see if this works. Input. Oh, it's look. Yep. I'm on an infinite loop. All right.
You're sure that parenthesis goes there?
Yes, because here's the parentheses right here for the get prompt, and everything's within right there. So this function ends right there. And then we need a closing parentheses for the get function.
I understand matching the parentheses, but I don't understand why all this code is inside the function call.
Because this function, all of this code, like the if statements, is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
So, because we need to, so when we get a user's input, we have to execute a function, and that this function is what's executed. So we grab a user's input, and now that input is stored in the result.input. Now we execute this function to test what that input equals. So all this code this function is executed after we grab the user's input.
Okay, yeah, it'd just be easier to read if it wasn't inlined.
So
this is part of the, what is it, the prompt package, the npm prompt package?
Yep.
Okay.
It also looks like you're gonna have to increment again after the good or the second goodbye, and then have a return statement.
Yeah.
Also, if you have that let goodbye count equals 0 right at the top, it's going to reset every time. You're never going to escape. Would it be possible to like initialize it as a default variable, like as a called thing under def grandma?
It's not a recursive function though, so it's only going to increment
Call once. So initial count is 0. Goodbye count is less than 2. Comes down here. Console log. Then, all right, def grandma is still 0. Comes up here. Grabs the input again.
You also don't need that second increment because you return from the function when that case is met.
Yeah, so this should work. Let's see if this works. Uh-oh. Oh, I'm not in the right. CD, def grandma. Why is it?
I think the reason why that happens is because prompt.get is asynchronous, so it doesn't wait for the user input, it just keeps iterating the while loop.
That makes sense. Well, that sucks. Yeah, so a while loop probably wouldn't. A while loop would normally work if the prompt.get function was synchronous. I'm gonna kill it.
I mean, you could just make an empty function call or return it or save the result of the function call as a variable and not have all of the if else statements inside.
Yep. Yeah, there's a bunch of ways we can do it. I'm gonna keep that the way I originally had it, but yeah, there's a plethora of different ways you all could have done it. But get it to work first and then iterate. Yeah, just iterate if you want to try something different. But CD.
So what do you mean by synchronous or asynchronous?
So essentially the order of when code is actually executed. And we're going to cover that later on in the cohort. We're going to you'll see it a lot when we're dealing with APIs, because you'll have to like reach out to some third-party server, and before your program moves ahead, you have to wait for a response back from wherever your the third-party server. You want to like wait for that response to come back and then do something. So, but yeah, we'll cover that later on. Cool. So the solution works. It's good. Let's push it up to GitHub. So what's the command to add everything to the repo?
Git add period.
All right. Git add period. All right. Now I'm going to do git status to check the status of it. Oh, looks like I added everything in node modules, which I don't want to do. So I'm going to do git reset to reset. So I don't have to. It resets essentially, takes everything out of the staging area. So now I can get status again. So you can see the modified folder and the new directories and the new files and folders that were added. But I don't want to add these to the challenge just because, I mean, I can add the package lock JSON, that's okay, but I don't want to add the node modules. So there's a couple of ways I can do that. I can just do git add def gramma JS. So instead of adding everything, I'm just adding the def gramma file. So git status. So now I've just added, the green means that's been added to the staging area. The red means these are new files or modified files that I haven't actually committed to the staging area, the Git staging area, which is okay. I don't want to add that stuff. So I'm going to do git commit, or I guess I'll add the package that JSON files well. Git status. So see if this is modified. This is a new file. So git commit solution, git push origin master. Now if I come up here, I can refresh. Now you can see 11 seconds ago, did all that. Go to pull request, create a new pull request, goes to Oscar Platoon, def gramma, requesting to pull Tom Preet's def gramma master branch into the def gramma, Oscar Platoon's def gramma master branch. And see all the different code. Create pull request, structure solution, create pull request. And there you go.
That time you found the pull request button you were looking for.
No, I actually ended up going up here So if I went Tom, def grandma, I actually ended up going up to pull requests and doing a new pull request that time.
The hand is faster than the eye.
Yeah. But yeah, they're usually like, it'll usually come up here, like right here that says, oh, it's when I create a branch is when that pull request shows up.